The restaurant was warm and softly lit that evening. Low music moved gently through the room. Glasses touched quietly. People spoke in calm voices the way people do after many years of living and learning that loud moments rarely bring peace. At a corner table sat a man named Victor Hale, age 56. His hair had turned slightly silver at the sides. His shoulders carried the quiet weight of many long years in business. Across from him sat a younger man named Adrian Cross, age 37. Adrian wore a confident smile. He looked polished and sharp. He was the translator for the evening. Victor had come to the city to sign a partnership contract with an overseas company. The document rested on the table inside a black folder. Victor believed the meeting would change the final chapter of his working life. Standing beside the table was a waitress named Lila Brooks, age 32. Her posture was calm. Her uniform neat and simple. Her voice soft but steady. Lila had worked in that restaurant for many years. Long enough to recognize the quiet language of people. Long enough to sense when something in a room was not quite right. She poured red wine into Victor's glass slowly. The deep color caught the warm light. Adrian leaned closer to Victor. His voice lowered as he translated a message from a man sitting further away who represented the foreign company. Victor listened carefully. Adrian spoke with smooth confidence. He explained that the company wished Victor to sign immediately. He said the offer was generous. He said waiting could risk the opportunity. Victor looked down at the contract again. At 56, a man learns that time moves faster than he expects. He also learns that every signature carries a story behind it. Victor thought about the years that had brought him here. The long mornings. The tired nights. The sacrifices. He thought about his late wife who had believed in him when his business was nothing more than a small idea in a rented garage. For a moment Victor felt that familiar mixture of pride and loneliness. Life gives success, but it also takes things away. Adrian gently tapped the folder. "Sir, the partners are ready," he said. Victor nodded slowly. Lila stood quietly beside them, still holding the wine bottle. She watched Adrian speak. She watched Victor listen. Something about the exchange made her uneasy. Over many years of serving tables she had learned something valuable. People often reveal their true intentions not through words but through small expressions. Adrian spoke quickly. Too quickly. His eyes moved too often toward the men waiting across the room. Lila leaned slightly closer as she filled the glass. Then she heard a sentence in the foreign language. It was brief. Almost whispered. But Lila understood it. Her grandmother had spoken that language when she was a child growing up in a small neighborhood far from here. For a moment Lila felt the past return like a quiet memory. Her grandmother had once told her something simple. "Learn languages, my child. Because truth sometimes hides between words." Lila kept pouring the wine slowly. Adrian continued translating. But what he said did not match what Lila had heard. Her heart began to beat faster. She looked at Victor. He appeared calm but slightly uncertain. Lila took a breath. Life often gives people a small moment when they must decide who they truly are. For Lila, that moment had arrived beside a table with a glass of red wine. She leaned closer to Victor. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Your translator is lying," she said. Victor lifted his eyes slowly. Adrian froze. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Victor studied Lila carefully. His face showed surprise but not anger. "What did you say?" he asked softly. Lila straightened her posture. "Sir, the men across the room did not say what he translated." Adrian quickly laughed. "This is ridiculous," he said. She must have misunderstood. Victor raised one calm hand. He looked at Lila again. "What did the men actually say?" he asked. Lila spoke slowly. "He said the contract gives your company away for far less than it is worth. He said you will regret signing, but that greed will make you sign anyway." The words rested in the air. Victor felt a chill move through him. Adrian tried to interrupt. "That is not true," he said. Victor quietly closed the folder. He had spent 30 years building companies and reading people. Experience had taught him something powerful. When someone panics too quickly, they are usually hiding something. Victor turned his head and looked toward the men across the room. The men avoided eye contact. Victor leaned back in his chair. For a moment he said nothing. Years of business had taught him that silence often reveals more truth than arguments. Finally Victor spoke. "Adrian, please translate something for me," he said. Adrian nodded nervously. Victor looked directly toward the foreign partner. He spoke a short sentence in English. Adrian translated it. The men across the room listened. Then the men replied in his own language. Before Adrian could speak, Lila quietly said, "He says the offer cannot change and you must decide tonight." Victor smiled slightly. But Adrian had not yet translated anything. Victor looked back at Lila. "You understood that again?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said. Victor nodded slowly. Then he opened the folder and carefully removed the contract. He placed it on the table. For several seconds he simply looked at the paper. When a man reaches his 50s, he understands something that younger people sometimes forget. Not every opportunity is a gift. Some opportunities are traps wearing nice suits. Victor closed the folder again. "I will not sign tonight," he said. Adrian looked shocked. "Sir, you may lose everything," he insisted. Victor stood calmly. "A man only loses everything when he signs away his wisdom," he replied. He turned toward Lila. "Thank you," he said. Lila gave a small respectful nod. Victor walked across the room toward the foreign partner. The two men spoke directly for several minutes. No translator. No confusion. Just two experienced men discussing truth. Eventually the partner sighed and admitted the real terms. They were indeed unfair. Victor returned to the table. Adrian had already disappeared. Victor sat down again slowly. He looked at Lila with quiet gratitude. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lila Brooks," she replied. Victor smiled. "Miss Brooks, you saved me from a very expensive mistake tonight." Lila shook her head gently. "My grandmother used to say truth should never stay silent," she said. Victor chuckled softly. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman." "She was," Lila said. Victor studied her for a moment. Life had taught him to recognize integrity when he saw it. "Miss Brooks," he said, "have you ever considered a different career?" Lila laughed softly. "Sir, I am 32 and I have served tables for 15 years. I am not sure the world has a place for me anywhere else." Victor leaned forward. "The world always has a place for honest voices," he said. "Especially voices brave enough to speak when silence would be easier." That evening turned into a long conversation. Victor learned that Lila had studied languages in college but left school when her grandmother became ill. Responsibility had guided her life ever since. Victor listened carefully. People in their 50s learn something precious. Success is not measured by money alone. It is measured by the people we lift along the way. 3 months later, Victor offered Lila a position at his company. Not as a waitress, but as an international communications advisor. She accepted with quiet disbelief. Years passed. Victor slowly stepped back from daily business. Lila grew into a respected leader within the company. Employees trusted her voice because it carried the same honesty she had shown in that restaurant years earlier. Sometimes during company gatherings, Victor would share the story. He would tell young employees about the night a waitress saved him from a foolish signature. He would always end with the same lesson. Never ignore the quiet voice of truth. Sometimes wisdom arrives wearing a simple uniform and holding a bottle of wine. Now, if this story touched your heart and reminded you that courage and honesty still matter in this world, please support the Black Voices. Like this story. Share it with someone who believes in kindness. Subscribe to the channel. And write a comment about a moment when someone's honesty changed your life. Your voice matters here at the Black Voices.